This is the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus. As you can see, the iPhone 6 Plus is absolutely massive. That is a 5.5 inch screen. It's one of the biggest screens you can get on a smartphone today, and it is rather impressive. The thing that really matters about these screens to me is two things. One is the color accuracy. These are sRGB accurate, which is a rather boring way of saying that colours aren't oversaturated, not blown out, anything like that. Movies look really good, pictures look really, really good. And then the other thing, which is a bit hard to see on video, but you'll see it if you go and have a play with them in person, is that the screens are laminated really, really close to the glass. So they basically look like they're floating. It doesn't really feel like you're actually touching glass. It feels like your fingers are sort of interacting with iOS itself, which is really cool. As for the size, that's 4.7 inches and that is 5.5 inches. Obviously that is a massive screen, but it does mean that you get much more space for browsing websites and things like that, and particularly gaming is really, really good on this phone. This is a much more compact unit. It's still a big phone if we're used to the old iPhone, to be honest with you, but it's so nice, the display, that essentially photography, things like that, they're going to be great on this, just better on that. Essentially what Apple's done here is they've gone back to what the original iPhone was all about, which was everything being round. The only thing I will say that's a bit of an issue with design is that essentially this camera unit protrudes out slightly from the back, which is a bit irritating, but I don't really see how they could have made the phone any thinner and fit a battery, processors and everything inside. It's a little bit HTC-like with these kind of bands here. But other than that, it's such a solid device and the screen's so nice that, I mean, it's pretty much the nicest smartphone that you can probably buy today. Apple's done the standard thing then and rolled out a new processor and a new set of internal hardware for both of these handsets. They both use something called the A8 processor. It's basically a more powerful unit than what we had last year. It's smaller, more compact, they can get more stuff inside it, but essentially it's faster. But what really matters actually with the performance is what has happened to iOS recently, which is essentially Apple's done an Android. They've opened their doors to developers and they've said that apps can talk to each other, they can talk with iOS at a lot more deeper level. And at the moment it's early days, but applications are going to become so much more powerful on the iPhone over the next coming months that they're going to need the power that's inside this handset. And I think people are going to start to see the performance gains in the coming months. The main thing that the iPhone's really become known for is photography, and I know loads of people who love using their iPhones just to take pictures, and it's one of the reasons why compact cameras are struggling now. And in the case of the iPhone 6, the camera's even better. This camera has something called phase detect autofocus, which is basically what you would get in a DSLR, and it means that essentially objects snap into focus really quickly and change from background to foreground really quickly. This camera now is basically as good a camera as you'd ever need for anything other than professional photography, and the same really applies to the front-facing camera, which is a bit better at taking in light, so it's a bit better for FaceTime calls and for selfies, and there's some other tweaks in iOS which let you basically take better selfies. But ultimately, if you're into just snapping things as you go about your business, this phone is as good as you're ever going to get. You don't really need a compact camera anymore.